Welcome to After the Act, a film podcast where we talk about movies and shows that we watch. We're your hosts. I am Randy, here with
Romanov.
And today we'll be reviewing Netflix's I Care a Lot. I Care a Lot.
Because we care a lot.
We care a lot. We care about you. I'm excited to review this one. It's a comedy thriller movie starring some very dynamic actors. It wasn't a movie I expected to even watch of its category, this crime thriller comedy. I didn't even expect it to be as good as people were saying it was, because I don't know, it just caught me off guard. And it's spoiler alert, it's very good. It's a very good movie.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you, man. I only heard of this movie from, I think, my parents. And my parents are big movie people. They love watching everything and anything, even if it's looking terrible. I've seen them watch movies in the same vein as Ginger Dead Man. They eat that shit up. They don't discriminate whatsoever. They will just excavate Netflix for the most obscure shit because they just watch so many films. And they told me about this one. I was like, I haven't heard of that. That's probably like not that I don't watch B movies, but in this particular moment when they recommended it, I was like, I'm not in the mood to see something like B worthy. I want to see something a little bit more mainstream. And they're like, no, you'll really like this movie. It's on Netflix. It's one of the top 10 movies on Netflix right now. You'll really enjoy it. I was just like, okay, I can't not watch something after getting a recommendation like that. And man, this movie was not what I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be some kind of maybe dramedy or some kind of romance comedy. No, this movie has a lot to say, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But initial impressions were pretty damn low in terms of expectations, but far exceeded them.
Yeah, and it's also has like the brand of Netflix on it, premiering on Netflix. And I feel like that's where a lot of like fine B movies go that are action based at all. I don't ever assume what I would assume like a quality action film for my taste appearing on Netflix. It's just like, yeah, there's some entertaining ones. You watch Chris Hemsworth blow up something. But I didn't expect this one to have that much weight to it. But this is already a great contender for future awards easily. I know we talked about Judas and the Black Messiah the other week and how that's already probably on our top list for the year, calling it already. And it's hard for me to picture us doing a top 10, top 5 review of 2021 and not include I Care a Lot in there. It's just the action's great, the character development's great, just what the characters do to reach what they want is just fun, Breaking Bad, Ozark-esque antics. Absolutely up my alley. Peter Dinklage. I'm glad Peter Dinklage not only keeps getting work, but he's great in this too. Like he's
fucking badass.
He's fucking like he's scary. Like he has this authoritative presence. The one who played his mother in The Home, I think it's Diane Wiest.
I think she was in Practical Magic too, which is an old ass film, but I love that movie. So I was already kind of happy to see her in that role. It's been a long time since I've seen her in anything.
Yeah, I know she's been in the industry forever, but she was great in here too. She like, not to give away too much of the plot, but you kind of assume she's like the rest of the people that Marla's character deals with. But then once she has that kind of awareness of like you have no idea what you got yourself into kind of vibe, it takes a turn for the better, and she plays that role perfectly too. Of like, yeah, you could tell that character has been through some shit. Man, what a fun movie! And the twists and turns, I kept thinking the movie was over before it was over. I'm like, okay, clearly they're gonna wrap up the plot here. No, clearly they're gonna wrap up the plot here. No, they just keep adding to it, and it didn't feel forced, even though. We really think about how long some of those acts lasted. It's like, wow, they showed it, but it just felt so developed in a good, concise, succinct way that every piece of information they got just felt perfectly written. So loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. And this movie, it's like a title fight, right? Once these two characters become aware of each other's existence, it's like a fight. There's rounds to it. It's like, okay, you got that round, I got this round. You got that round, I got this round. And it just keeps going back and forth. So this whole movie, it doesn't hide it doesn't hide its message. In the very first 5 minutes of the film, and we'll elaborate more on this in the spoilery territory, but the character says exactly what her motivations are. She's like, this is why I do what I do, but you're no better than I am, and here's why. And then the movie begins, and I love that. It reminds me of kind of going back to anime. It always comes back to anime. But for those of you who do watch it, there is a very particular show that I'm going to reference. It's called Hunter x Hunter. And everybody in that world is a selfish asshole, right? And anything they do is motivated by their own selfish desires to accomplish some particular goal. And it's just them interacting with characters who have their own goals, but have the same mindset of how to attain those goals. And it's like, who can get theirs, right? Who can get theirs in this world? Even though all these people are really talented and powerful, only one of them is going to get what they want. And here's the story. And that's what this movie reminded me of. It speaks to us really in a very capitalistic society, right? Especially here in the United States. We tend to have that very self-motivating, I'm going to go get mine at any cost kind of mentality. It's always promoted in anything we do. We kind of talked about that in Judas and the Black Messiah review, which you should check out if you haven't. Fantastic movie. But this movie kind of had that same spirit to it. And man, I can't wait to actually talk about what I thought of in terms of the overall message. But like I said, it felt like a title fight. And just seeing Peter Dinklage play that intimidating, I can't even say bad guy, because that's such an arbitrary way of labeling things, especially in movies, right? Good and bad guy. This movie takes those terms out completely. And it's just like, they're just people doing what they need to do. And he was just so intimidating, and it was so refreshing to see, because I don't think I've seen him in a role like that. Granted, I don't watch a lot of Peter Dinklage, but even in Game of Thrones, he was more of like the smart, witty type, had his comedic moments of bravery sprinkled in there. But he was never like this terrifying person. And I believe he was also in the movie Elf, which is one of my favorite holiday movies. And he beats up Will Ferrell in that movie, but it's in a comical fashion. So I've never seen him in that bona fide boss, like just boss ass motherfucker type of role. And he did a great job. So I can't wait to kind of jump in here, but those are my initial thoughts on I Care a Lot.
Yeah, and just to continue on the Peter Dinklage, I think the only other film I've seen him play like the antagonist and the villain, if you will, to the protagonist is X-Men's Days of Future Past, when he was that scientist. But even then, it was just like, all right, this guy has, kind of xenophobia vibes, really. It wasn't like he himself was intimidating. He was just producing intimidating shit. But this role, he himself is scary. Just his look, his feelings, what he can do, what he will do, what he does. Great presence from him. And of course, the main, who is it? Rosamund Pike for Marla, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, she's just, she's 2021's Walter White. She's 2021's, the Ozark family.
Birds. The Birds.
It's a bird. She reminds me of the mother character in that too. Where it's just like, yeah, she'll go hard. Like surprisingly, she has some fangs, and she'll bite everyone's throats. But hey, we love the movie. Check it out. If you haven't watched it yet, pause this, go watch it, come back, finish this review, because we're about to jump into spoilers for I Care a Lot, starting now.
By the way, I know we're not sponsored, man, and I don't plug anybody, but the pun is too good, and I have to do it. So if you'd like to sponsor us, Reese's. I just think this is a very clever mug because it is quite literally a Reese's cup.
You know what? That's great. That's
Yeah.
well done, Reese's. Shout out to Reese's.
Send us some free chocolate. You know you want to. We need to get something, man.
You need to
Send
get
us some
something.
free chocolate. Okay. Promoting your shit for free.
Oh, Reese's. Yeah, I care a lot. This movie had that, it opened with that internal monologue from a character, which I usually have mixed feelings about. It's been done a lot of the whole, like, Fight Club-esque American Beauty, just like, here is exactly what I think and my motive for the rest of the movie. It's like, all right, well, are you going to show it too? And they do. They do immediately. Like, everything about her lifestyle, Marla's character, of this a lot. What I love is I love a good con in a movie. I do like good cons. And she just sets up the con she has, which is essentially kidnapping old people through the court of law after deeming them, unfit to care for themselves. Then they have control of all their assets. They sell it off, they pawn it off, and they force their benefactors to not be able to access anything. They just steal from old people and kidnap them. It's horrific. The reality is horrific, but
she watches those old people, okay? She doesn't steal shit. Yes, she may take some off the top for herself, but
yeah,
that is her job. She cares.
She cares. That's her job. No one else is as equipped to care about people like her. Yeah, badass from the top. Like, she already has that court drama with that opening guy of like.
I think that was my least favorite character, by the way. That fucking judge, fucking moron. All right.
Yeah, I mean, he got walked on easily, very easily. It's like, all right, you seem cool, lady. Fuck this guy and his mom.
Yeah. It's beautiful, man. When she talks about her beginning sentiments about, her motivations and how nobody else is any better than her and that we're all essentially monsters just trying to get what we want. That was beautiful commentary for me. I mean, the fact that she can pull this off legally speaks a lot about our healthcare system in general here in this country. Like, it is so obvious, especially when you see it in a movie like this, how healthcare is turned into a business, right? Everything in the US is essentially a business, even education. As much as we, want to ignore that fact, it's just the truth. Everything that we do is a business. It's made to make money. And this movie does a beautiful job of saying, like, hey, we'll take something as important and as awe-inspiring as healthcare, right? Where you assume everyone is in that job because they just want to help the public. They care about people's health. They want to make their community better. But in reality, it's all a facade, right? It's all a show. And the motivation is, once again, monetary compensation. So I already love the commentary it was making about the American healthcare system and how, just legally speaking, our laws can be so arbitrary and just vague at times that things that you never thought were possible can be easily done. Like someone just knocking on your door saying you have to come with us and all your shit belongs to me now is frightening, like you said. And I think that's perfectly encapsulated in the scene where Marla is going after what's called a cherry. And she, very specifically, she goes into a doctor's office that deals with elderly patients, right? So they're a geriatrics doctor, a physician, and they apparently go there essentially to shop, right? They shop for patients. And the reason she's there, and if you haven't seen the movie, I won't get too far into it, but one of her wards, right, the people that she watches over, that died earlier than expected, so she has to go and find someone to replace this ward. And what ends up happening is this doctor's like, hey, I think I have what's called a cherry for you. And it's essentially this lady who's rich and she has no living relatives. So no one's going to care if she's in a assisted living facility. And how are we going to get her to do what we want? Well, she told me that she has some memory problems. Not significant, but she has trouble memorizing things at times, which who fucking doesn't, right? It just so happens that you're old at the same time. And she's like, but we can use that to sway the court in our favor. And that leads to the shenanigans of the movie where they essentially knock on this lady's door and they're like, hey, your doctor has said you're unfit to take care of yourself. You belong to us now. You have to come with us. And she just looks dumbfounded in that scene. She looks so confused, like if she's living in a dream and she's waiting to wake up. She just can't believe what's going on around her. And I think that was the point for me when I saw this movie. I was like, oh my God, this commentary is amazing. Because by you watching it and realizing that that's possible, you're just like that character. You're dumbfounded. Like, can this actually happen? This has to be just a movie, and it's not.
Yeah, it's a shit show of healthcare loopholes, and that's, like you said, that's the entirety of our healthcare system currently. Is there are a plethora of ways to make money off of the sick, and that's how she's building her empire, and she's really good at it, really good at it. And then I love the confrontation she had with that poor man who can't see his mother. Try to break into the nursery home just to see her and failed at it. He's like, you can tell he's also an asshole, but like in the context, you know, like, yeah, he's a poor guy in this situation, but he is an asshole. Immediately what he goes towards is trying to attack the gender because he doesn't have anything else to go on of, like, you know, hope you get raped and murdered and whatnot. And then she immediately just counters. Let's immediately counters because you can already tell she's heard that time and time again of like men trying to insult her, intimidate her with, you know, really specific language. And she was like, yeah, just because like you're a man, I'm going to be intimidated by you? Not at all. Like, if you come at me again, I'll rip your dick and balls off. I was like, wow, I believe that. I believe that threat. Absolutely. And even him, he was like, what the fuck? Like, who the fuck is this woman? And at that point, you're like, all right, her character, she wants to get rich. She takes no shit. She gets things done. She's incredibly smart. I'm in.
Yeah. And as soon as you realize that no one in this movie is really a villain, I just see them all as maybe anti-heroes.
They're villains. They're villains. They are. They're just really charming, right? It's not like...
That's true.
Yeah. It's like we like all the bad people because they are bad. Like Peter Dinklage's character, bad person. Marla, bad person, right? But they just have certain goals that we understand. Like, all right, well, you know, you have that kind of whole Breaking Bad vibe. You're in the empire business, which is in a fictional context really appeasing. But she's just so, like, she just wins you over with her charm, and her strength is just, I found myself like, I kind of want to work for her. Like, she just seems like she'll just take you wherever she would want to go, which is to the moon. And that's exactly where she's headed until, you know, she didn't really find a cherry at all, did she? She kind of found a cherry bomb, if you will.
Yeah, I was thinking that. That was good, man. Good stuff. Yeah, no, I agree with you. You're right. Everyone is a villain. And I think that's pretty well established in the fact that, again, they set it up like a title fight. So they show Marla, right? And I believe her partner, her name is it Aza?
That might have to be this Fran. Actor Fran. Is as a Gonzalez. So
they show the two of them, and you're like, okay, so I'm essentially, when I first saw that part, because I remember I went in blind. I really didn't know much about this movie other than it was recommended. And then even the description on Netflix is pretty vague because I think all it says is she gets more than she bargained for. So I actually thought the whole movie was going to be them establishing her as this prison warden of some kind. And this old lady was just going to be really rebellious and try to outsmart her. And it would be one of those films where ultimately either she would succeed or it would be hyper realistic and it would all be in vain and she would end up just becoming another old person in the system. That was my initial assumption. Yeah. But no, man, it was so much more than that, because once they show the main characters, they immediately switch over to Peter Dinklage's character. And at first you're like, okay, he looks like he's kind of a boss because he's got people handing him frappuccinos and shit. But then they hand him a stack of photos, right? And they say to him, this is the new batch of mules that have come in. What do you think? And he's just going through these photos, and it's just young women who have been brought over from, I assume, Russia, because they say he's Russian in the film. And they're essentially sex mules and drug mules. And they all look super young. They look really beat up. He's like, yeah, the crop looks good. Now get me my fucking Frappuccino. Um, and then at that point, like, okay, well, I'm not going to really like anybody's morals in this movie, but I can clearly see that these two detestable powerhouses are about to come and kind of duke it out for what they want. And, obviously this is the spoiler section, so I don't feel bad about saying this, but the old lady who they consider the cherry in the film, she turns out to be the mother of this Russian mob boss played by Peter Dinklage. And I'm sure it was the same with you, man. It was like a 180. Like I didn't expect to see that at all. I was like, okay, this is a weird change of pace, but I like it. Now I'm really invested. Now I really want to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, I just thought this movie would be more of a heist movie. Trying to steal old people's shit continuously, beat the system. But yeah, then it turned into a classic. You took from the wrong people. And then I was very invested at that point. I was like, okay, this is going to be very interesting. Clearly, I think Peter Dinklage, is it Roman, right?
Roman, yeah.
He probably has some connections. You quickly learn he's a Russian mob boss. And at that point, I'm like, oh, wow, like Marla, I don't like, is she just going to be running from this person the entire time? Like, how is she going to confront him? But even when she starts to put it together, too, of who Jennifer Peterson actually was and who she was tied to, then Diane Weiss just gives that great, just like shit-eating grins of like, oh, he's coming, referring to her son. And she doesn't flinch. Like Marla doesn't, she just sees it as a next challenge. It's not a detriment to what she wants. She starts putting it together of how she can use it to her advantage. Like, okay, just pay me off then, send me $5 million or something like that, and I'll let you have her.
Exactly.
And she has that great conversation with the lawyer of the Russian mob boss, and he kind of offers her, like 200, 250, 300, and she's not flinching at all. It's like that's nothing to me. Give me $5 million, and then we'll actually talk. And the guy's doing his best to intimidate her the way they would, and it means nothing. She's been intimidated by, I think she had that line earlier in the movie where she was like, you know how many threats I've gotten from men before? Thousands. You know how many have ever amounted to anything? 2. Like, it's fine. This is fine. This is just another one of those threats I'm going to conquer. And God, the path that takes when you pissed off the Russian mob boss. It was some fun antics after that. Some fun antics.
I agree. And one of the things I found really interesting, that just little details like this really made the film for me. The fact that she didn't even, like you said, she didn't flinch, but even more so, she thought it was exciting, right? Like she's just, in the beginning, she's like, oh, this is all routine. This is just another day's work for me. And then when she meets the lawyer, she's just like, you're not a publicly appointed attorney. You're a shark. I can tell. I'm intrigued. Who sent you? And like at that point, now it's exciting for her. It's like that scene from Django Unchained where she's just like, at first you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. It's just like that with her in that scene. And I just fucking love the lawyer. He's one of my favorite characters, just because that's such, like, that encompasses the job of a lawyer. We kind of shit on lawyers, honestly, when we talk about them, like, oh my God, that's a profession where you sell your soul for money. But no, like, that's their job. Their job is to make sure their clients get what they want. And he perfectly portrayed that, because he came in there with a nice suit. He gave his business card to the lady, and he also didn't flinch during that whole interaction. He was just like, you're going to wish you replayed this moment in your head a little bit differently when my boss is essentially going to break your face in. And he just leaves with his suitcase full of money. And it just keeps escalating from there. But again, she found it fascinating. That's really, if you didn't know it already by that point in the movie, now you really know it, that these two people enjoy this kind of shit. Like, they get thrills off of trying to one up another person and essentially play the system.
Yeah, and they're both sides are used to winning too. That's why they both exude confidence because they don't lose. So you have two factions, neither loses. Which one will give? And that's the Godzilla versus King Kong that I wanted this year. These two going at it. I will say, I felt the hitmen of Roman really sucked. Though, like they were bad at their jobs. I don't know why they had that position. They could not. It felt like, okay, they could just break in and get her, but then they come against the most dedicated security guard in the history history of security guards.
Dude, that dude
Holy
was strapped
shit.
for no reason. He was strapped for no reason.
I just thought he would be just someone who's going to be gutted on the way in, but he fucking took people out. He took him out. He took a bullet for that shit.
Yo, that man had some cardio to him. I was not ready for him to have that much cardio. He was like if Paul Blart met John McClane.
And I'd watch that movie of that security guard and what he's gone through to get to that point of his life.
Which is hilarious because he jumps in with his gun, right? And then I think the only semi-competent person who was on his team was the female hitman who doesn't really speak any lines in the film, but he hires her to do
she just gets shit done.
Yeah, but I think the second kind of competent one was the taxi cab driver because he at least did some background check information and brought it to him. He's like, okay, she's a ward of the state now, and the court appointed this, and this is what the deal is. What I find so funny is the scene you just mentioned, the world's most dedicated security guard. I don't know why they decided to show that, because immediately after that, he has what is it, Roman's mother in hand, and then the rest of the staff comes. He's like, I'm prepared to kill you to get out of here. Are you prepared to try and stop me? And they just kind of like part like the Red Sea. I'm like, why does everyone else have that attitude, but this one security guard decided to just go all in? That part made no sense to me.
He was ride or die. He was. I wish we got like a line more of the security guard. That man's more dedicated than everyone I've seen. That's why he sticks with us. Otherwise it's just like, all right, he really cares. He cares a lot. He's talking about caring a lot. That security guard cares a lot. His face should be on the poster right here.
Right next to Marla's in blue. It's like staring in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and then Marla and Fran beat the ass of the guy who comes out with the mother. They beat that ass.
Can I just say that was the most nonsensical shit I've ever seen. It's like this man is hyper focused. He has a gun, and all of a sudden you're gonna be able to disable him with a bat. Which I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if you got this impression. I don't know if it was just the special effects and makeup budget, but very clearly that bat is a wiffle bat when they hit him. It looks like it kind of bends when they hit him. Go back to the scene and watch it again. It looks like he's hit with a wiffle bat. And then just to see them disable him after that just kind of took me out of the film a little bit in that scene.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree.
I get it. I know these women are supposed to be badasses in the film, but they could have, I don't know, it could have played out a little differently for me to be a little more believable. But still, yeah.
I mean, he's probably like a trained assassin of some sort, or at least a trained gunman. They can kick his ass, sure, but like throw in some good choreography that can make me believe that he should have gotten his ass kicked in that moment. Sweeping the leg and she clotheslines some shit. Like, yeah, they take classes. I'd believe that. That's probably the lowest point in the movie, and it's a nitpick. It's a nitpick of like it didn't look too believable when they beat that ass, and it was fine. It moved the plot along where it needed to. Where okay, they can't do it by force, literally taking the mother out. What else can Roman do to outwit Marla, who's already thwarted him a couple of times?
Yeah, and obviously the plan. To be fair, I did like the first scene where he's just like, get it done legally, keep me out of it.
Yep.
Hurry up, right? And that failed. But I didn't mind the scene too much where he tries to brute force it. because that's his mother, right?
Oh
In the
yeah,
film.
yeah. I understand. Yeah, the motives is all understandable. I need to get my mother out of there. He's still in the right of what he's like. His intention of like, I need to get my mother out of there.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's a great I guess decline of morals of let's just beat her in court. Okay, we can't beat her in court. Let's pay her off. Okay, we can't pay her off. Let's just get my mom out there by force. We can't do that either. What else do we do? And then it goes to that ultimate point of we have to get after her himself, Rosamund's character.
Exactly. And that's when shit gets real, right? Because at that point, court failed, brute force failed, and he's just like, all right, now I have to be the mob boss that I am, and I have to start calling in favors. And this is, to me, the climactic part of the film, right? Where once he picks up that phone, things can no longer go back to the way they were, right? At this point, nobody can get out of this situation without losing something. And that's when you start to see it, right? Because she got the victory on that one. She got the dub. His man failed to break his mother out of the retirement facility. And then he's like, all right, now it's my turn. He picks up the phone, he makes a call, and then it's that female assassin we were talking about. And she goes and she kills the fuck out of that doctor lady who who lied in court about Roman's mother not being of right state of mind. And that part made me so happy because there's nothing that triggers me more as someone who really likes the medical field and wants to be a part of it in the future than seeing doctors who essentially know what they're doing is illegal and still do it out of a selfish sense of I need to make money. I think she wanted stocks in the film, right? Of some retirement facility. And she's like, yeah, I help you feed the money monster, but I barely get a taste of it for myself. I'm like, this fucking woman is detestable.
Yeah.
I know everyone in this movie is detestable, but this is the one I like the least, and for my own selfish personal reasons. So I was very happy when I saw that little news article where it was like, oh, this woman found dead. It's like she got murked. I was like, yes, fuck that doctor. But obviously that's a nitpick on that's a bias on my side. I'm sure you have a character that you really dislike the most, which we should probably use to wrap up this episode. But I really like that scene. I really like that the way they executed it, pun intended. They killed her. Marla saw it on the news, on the TV of the gym she was in, and that's when she knows, like, oh shit, this is not a game anymore. This is my life at stake. And she doesn't flinch again because obviously these people aren't used to losing. The motivation of pride plays a big role in this film and where pride can take you. But yeah, I really like that part of the movie. What about you?
Yeah, that sets it off to what the stakes actually are, which are their lives. And she has a good play too. She has access to a lot of homes that are just empty due to the residents being collected. They haven't gone on the market yet to sell the house, so they just store away in one of the houses. Easy, hiding spot, which is a good okay, let's catch our breaths. And she at least she gives the characters in her life, like her lover Fran, an option of, listen, we have like millions of dollars in diamonds alone. We can run or we can finish this. And they have a great relationship. It's like it's out in the open, everything they do. There's no hiding anything. They support each other in beautiful ways. And Fran just kind of she takes a moment. She's like, well, do you have a plan? And she's like, yeah, I do. And then she trusts her. She's like, all right, let's finish this. Without even having to hear the details of the plan, she just knows the woman she's with. She knows who she's chosen as a partner. And she's like, you know what? I will bet on you every time. I will literally put my own life on the line because I have that much faith in what you could do against the Russian mob. That's how confident she is.
Listen, man, that's what we all need in a relationship. We need that kind of trust.
Yeah. Yeah. If my partner can make me feel safe against the Russian mob that are trying to kill me, that's a good partner, I think. Theoretically, I think that'd be a good one to have.
That's where Walter White's marriage failed, right? Because he tried to assure his wife Skylar. He's like, I am the danger. She's like, you ain't shit. Like it didn't work.
It's true. Continue to prove he wasn't shit. Yeah, and then it goes hard after that. because another Marla play. It wasn't just the kidnapping and thwarting the legal stuff. She tortured the mom after they had that exchange of like tell me who your son is, all that kind of information that she didn't get. And then she pretty much said like, you're not going to get shit. You're going to die a horrible death. And she's like, all right, I literally control you. I will fuck your entire day up. I will up the meds. I will turn the uppers on at night and the downers on in the morning. You will be fucked here forever. And then it wasn't even, I thought it was an empty threat. I thought she wasn't going to do that. She immediately goes to the man in charge and told him to do exactly what she threatened, which is to fuck every day up she has with meds. And again, vicious, brutal, awful, horrific to do to an old person that doesn't even belong in there anyways, that you kidnapped and stole her stuff. And then medical torture. It's really fucked up. It's really fucked up. So they keep one-upping each side of what fucked up thing you could do, which of course has had to lead to, well, I'm going to murder your people now. That's the next step. And it got to the point where the mom was about to choke her out too. Like she.
Oh my god, I fucking love that part. Because for the most part, I thought the movie was going to be about her character, and she's actually a secondary character. She's not in it for a lot of the film.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
She has this great moment that you just mentioned where Marla gives that whole speech about how I'm going to fucking drain you, and then you're going to stay in here, and then everyone's going to forget about you, and you don't mean shit. And she just smiles. The old lady just smiles, and she's just like, okay. And she gets up, and you think like she's just gonna walk away, but no, she's like, you forget who the fuck I raised. I'm the mom of that motherfucker. You don't think I'll fuck you up? And then she tries to strangle her.
Yeah.
In public. She doesn't give a shit.
They're already fucking with her. Like, there's nothing else to lose. And she had like a good chokehold on. She had the fucking right under the throat, under the chin. It was a good form. It was good form. I was like, this old lady is fucking doing it. She's fucking her up. It's beautiful. It was just filled with badass characters being pissed off for, fair reasons and having to go at each other's throats. And once it got to the point where they kidnapped Marla, presumably they kidnapped her girlfriend, that was definitely like the best scene for me. It was that kidnapping scene.
Oh, for sure. And on top of that, I could just kind of a funny. This is horrible, but this is where my mind went with that. I'm like, okay, she's the mom, right? She had that great chokehold. I could just see her doing that shit to her son when he was younger, when he was a little shit.
Oh,
it's like
sure.
Peter Dinklage and like a stranglehold. It's like, mom, she's like, don't be a bitch, don't talk to me like that or something. I mean, that part made me smile.
I think so too. She has that whole like calm demeanor while I'm going to fuck you up. I'm sure that was part of her parental skills raising Peter and whoever else.
Exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, you can see that brutalness definitely passed on to Roman's character, where he had Marla. Were they like on a beach or something, or on the side of the road? Where
it looked like she was in some weird either scrapyard or quarry. By the water. Yeah.
And they just had a great exchange of like threats. I have threats for you, and she's like, well, I have demands from you. Like, you can threaten to kill me, but like, what's the point? Just pay me off, give me 10 million. That would be way more easier. And it doesn't go that way.
He was just like, I know you want $10 million. Like, who the fuck doesn't want $10 million?
Yeah,
no, it's so good. Their chemistry was pretty good. I could tell there was a lot of scenes that were probably bloopers, because they probably just had a shit ton of fun when they were filming this movie. It was good chemistry, man. And man, all right. So after that, obviously that's the climax of the film. You think she's dead, but again, you think that's the end of the movie. You're like, okay, she's right. She's tied up. She's got mob people around her. They clearly just killed the doctor, right? He says, kill her. They're gonna fucking kill her. And he said, make it organic. And then they I think they put alcohol in her body to make it look like she was drunk driving and ran off the road.
Yep.
But she finds a fucking way to escape. She finds a way to escape. I'm like, are you kidding me? This movie's not over yet. What the fuck where can this go? Right? I underestimated the movie again. I was like, where can this go? This is ridiculous. This is where the movie should end. And I was pleasantly surprised again because I even learned something in terms of medicine in this, right? Because she escapes a car that's in the water, right? And she immediately walks to a gas station. I think it's a convenience store, and she buys milk and some clothing to get changed into. And it's little bits like this that just keep adding to her character because she loses a tooth because she's punched by Peter Dinklage before she's put in the car. She loses a tooth. She like screams for a second. She just lets it out. She has a moment where she just doesn't keep her composure and she lets out her frustration. And then she's calm again. She goes back to being the cold, calculating character that she is. Goes to the convenience store, gets some milk, drinks just a little bit of it, right? And puts her tooth in the milk, which I guess preserves it. I never knew that was true, because she's gonna get the tooth put back in her mouth. So little bits like that, pun intended again, just made the character that much better for me.
Sure.
Because she just had a near-death experience, right? And even then, she immediately flipped the switch back and was like, all right, I'm going to preserve my tooth because I fucking care about my beautiful smile, right? And I'm going to get out of these wet clothes. And she changes in front of the convenience store owner because she doesn't give a fuck. And she goes back to being that boss. And then she goes and she reunites with her. I don't know if they say they're married in the movie or not, but her partner.
They get married at the end.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, they do get married at the end. And she saves her from the house that's about to explode because of the gas being left on. But that was really badass. The only thing that I have a gripe about in that scene is the fact that they had no hesitation in just murking the doctor, right? But when it came to the main characters, again, he had really shitty hitmen. Why on earth would you not make sure they die? Even if you're making it organic. They just left Fran's character in that house before she had so much time to get up and walk out of there before the house blew up. And of course you have that cheesy it exploded at the last minute kind of thing. But that part really it irked me a little bit. I was like, all right, convenient. I get it, but yeah, that's really convenient for the main characters to survive.
It's very classic villain Saturday morning cartoons of like the hero has been left to their own devices in peril, but they found a way out. Versus like the doctor murder was not organic. It was clearly like a message too. Like that kill was a message, but it's like, so you're the mob, just fucking kill him, right? Just kill him. Like why elaborately try to make him go drunk and drive into just kill him. Just like who are you scared of? Who's gonna find it? But that was his style. He liked to kill organically, I guess. But
yeah, that last woman was buried underneath a Jimmy John's, man. Remember?
I forgot about that line. That's a good line. I think I replayed that like a couple of times. Like just the little added reference of Jimmy John's is where their waking place is. Like, all right, that's God, what a good scene. That exchange they had. We talk about like solidifying good character developments and reveals. Both of those characters immediately just were top tier. Her enunciation of what she wants, the whole I want to use money to bludgeon people. That's what I want. And 10 million will be a start for me to be able to do that. And then her audacity of even in the face of death, she's still making demands, pisses Roman off so much. Like he has this one moment where he's just like, you can tell he's trying to hold back an action. Like he wants to just murder her right now. And you can see him seething and holding it back before he punches her. And I'm like, this is just perfect. This is, who they are. He cares a lot about his mother and his money and his reputation as a boss. She cares a lot about what she wants, which is everything, the empire business. And then the tooth thing you mentioned, I love that because she does not think she's going to lose. She thinks she still will get out of this and then get to go to the dentist after that.
She does.
Yes, she does, and that's how confident they are. And then they have the most impressive kidnapping of a Russian boss in that parking garage scene, which is just them taking out the guards. She's fucking strapped with. She's like Static Shock. She just has fucking tasers and everything just ready to go. Takes out the driver, the security guard. Fucking drugs him with chloroform. Strips him naked. Leaves him drugged in the middle of the road in severe medical needing condition. Which is pretty smart.
A lot of these scenes are a little Looney Toony for me, man. Like just the believability of them.
Oh yeah,
was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, you have to like, okay, I guess they can get past his security, and they just will have two guys that just weren't ready. And yeah, you can see how that could happen. Like, all right, like is he going to roll with an entourage the entire time? Maybe not. But yeah.
Also, they underestimate the main character because she's a woman, right? That's another message in the film.
Yep.
Like, oh, people don't think that I can do these things because I'm a woman, but she actually uses that to her advantage, right? Because what does the guard see when she goes to kidnap Peter or Roman, right? She walks up with a fake wig and some makeup on, and I'm sure from the guard's perspective, he just saw this woman who was pretending to be, or not pretending for him. He just thought she was ditzy and didn't know where the right elevator was. He didn't even fathom that she could do anything to him.
Yeah.
Which, again, she used to her advantage for the upteenth time in this movie. So that part made it a little bit better for me. But yeah, some of this stuff was, and I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but the tone was a little goofy at times. It was dramatic, and then it was goofy, and then it was, a little comedic too, and it's a very weird blend.
Yeah, it's officially a thriller comedy, so they do trying to kind of balance that out. And yeah, I'm perfectly fine with her taking out the Russian mob, like, because if someone like Walter White does that, we don't really like think, I don't think he could have done that. It's like we just accept it, right? And yeah, it's the same with her. She knew she had a plan. Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to go down with a taser, and then she executed it.
Exactly.
And I love her because we kind of like riffed on Roman being way too elaborate in his deaths, but her elaboration made a lot of sense with her end game, which is,
it made all the sense.
Yeah, it was perfect because she could have just killed them, right? And I was thinking, like, is she just going to kill him? That seems, I don't know. It won't get her what she wants. And she's still going for what it's not safety, which is just killing the Russian mob boss. It's that currency. It's like, give me 10 million. I have you in the hospital system right now. You are officially listed as incapable of surviving on your own. So you're going to be in this facility under my care. I'm your guardian now forever. Unless you give me $10 million. And is that you could just see in his face, he's like, wow, I lost this. Like, she got me. I see what she can do with the legal system and the healthcare system. I'm not getting out of here.
But here's the thing. I don't think he knew I don't think he accepted defeat there for two reasons. And I'll get to the second one a little bit later when we talk about the end here. But he also told her, I can easily still have you killed from here. And she's like, I know. Like, she doesn't downplay the fact that she believes him. And he probably could.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think he lost. I just think at that point he was just like, this is more trouble than what it's worth to go against her. Let me just work with her and actually try to come out even better from this situation, which is what they actually end up doing, which is what makes these people so successful because, again, they don't lose. They don't know what losing means, right? And at the end, neither one of them loses, right? Until a little bit later.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
There's definitely one L, certifiably.
But in terms of them going against each other, they both end up winning. They don't lose.
Yeah, so it was more like it was a boxing match or a UFC fight, right? Rounds were lost, rounds were won, and he lost that final gambit of trying to kill her. Surprisingly, he lost that one. And you're right. He realized, okay, these battles, we keep going back and forth, but the war can be settled with both parties coming out on the top, like you said. And that was a great conversation, like these two people realizing the skill sets each other has, the resources each other's have. And yeah, immediately that plan was like, I can give you 10 million, or we can start making billions by taking your scheme national. And that's what happens. And again, I didn't expect that. I thought the movie was over. I thought it was going to be like, okay, lady, you won, and she's going to walk away with, fucking money and maybe like a couple of diamonds for herself. But instead, it was still no next level. She like 10 million. She announced during the kidnapping scene that would be a start. That wasn't her goal of like I have 10 million. I'm good. That was gonna be a start. And then we get a montage of what happens after that. I didn't expect that. I thought again they just would end it and all right, it's assumed she made a lot of money. But then they show her making a lot of money, going to all these tours and shit. She's a CEO and all these like Forbes lists, and it's great. Again, I'm like, what? I haven't even checked how much minutes are left in the movie. I'm afraid to check. I'm just going to let it go, and then it's great. It does what almost every writer tries to do. Really simple technique of the callback. The simple callback. You have a setup. Try to make people forget the setup, then you call it back. And they do that with that reasonable yet sexist asshole from the beginning.
Which is great, man, because obviously for a lot of films, the callback is coming because, it's a pretty straightforward, it's a pretty linear plot. But this movie squeezes in so much in 2 hours, and it just immediately takes off. There's no boring part in this film or slow part in this film. Once it starts and it keeps escalating, which I love when a movie can do that. So that was great. That was great script writing. But this callback was so masterfully done, and I think you agree with me on this because he is used in the beginning of the film to just demonstrate how much of a monster she is. Right? He is small potatoes, if not insignificant. Right? She doesn't think he's a threat at all. He's a peon to her. And you think that's his only role in the film, right? Even when I saw it and he said, I hope you get raped, murdered, or both, right? I was like, okay, that's just him being like the foreshadower in the film, and that's how she's gonna end up getting killed by somebody or get her karma, so to speak. But no, you completely forget this guy exists, right? Because at that point, he's gone from the film, and then you have all of this stuff happening. You get like 3 different fake endings in this movie, and then you get the real ending. And you see her; she gets everything she wants. She becomes this giant whale in terms of the top. I think they said that she achieved the top slice of the 1%, which I love that line for so many reasons. And just think about it. Again, it's commentary on the wage disparity that occurs in our country, right? We all work very hard for very little, right? And only a select few get to be up here, and then the rest of us are here. Very few of us are in the middle, right? And everyone's just trying to get up here. And they said, you've achieved it. You've achieved the top slice of the 1%. And in my head, I was just like, man, that's beautiful. Right? Because it's not enough. It's never enough, right? That's the whole point of the film. You fight, and it's not enough to be in the top 1% of wealth in an entire country. Now you're battling for decimal points. You want to be in the top slice. And that just spoke so great to me about corporate greed and American greed that I just love that one little passing moment. And then they follow it up with the foreshadowing, right? The callback, like you said. And this guy, who's even smaller potatoes now, right? Because she's at the top. She's
already went through a Russian mob to get there.
Exactly. Like there's nothing she can't handle at this point. Death couldn't even stop her. And he comes back, he pulls out a gun, and he murks her.
Yeah.
Something that the Russian mob should have done, right? Because they had all the means to do it and didn't. This guy comes back, and with all her power, all her influence, with money as her bludgeon, still vulnerable to bullets. Guy pulls out a gun, shoots her, she dies, right? And it's up to the audience to take whatever message they want from that ending. Could he represent karma? Yeah, he could, right? Is that enough? Well, maybe not, because he's also a detestable character. Maybe you disagree with that analysis. It could also just be that her crime was being too prideful, right? Her vanity and her pride eventually let her become reckless, and she underestimated people just like she did not want to be underestimated. That could also be commentary on it. But, what I gathered from it was she was the type of person who kind of got blinded by greed, right? Like a lot of us do. And to me, it was a cautionary tale about what it is you can accomplish when you follow those ideals. But ultimately, the greed will get you, right? It always does. And it'll
Yeah.
come to you in the most unexpected of places. Something that you didn't even think could ever happen to you is what does you in. And to me, that was just probably the most appropriate ending for this particular film. And there's some, I've heard some different theories about how Roman maybe would have tipped off that guy to kill her. I don't really believe that theory, but it's a possibility, right? But I think ultimately for me, that's what I gathered from the end of the movie. But what about you?
Yeah, I think everyone doesn't think they're an Icarus until they're falling from the sky, and that's
Right.
exactly what happened with her. Um, what I love is his motive is really simple, right? He had his own little revenge story off screen, where eventually the care that was forced upon his mother, she died in that care. And he just has a simple like you killed my mother. He doesn't care about anything else. He's already pissed at her. That's enough to set anyone over. And it's at her level of success, quote unquote, of that money, billions. That has to be billions and billions of dollars that she is worth. And there's very little amount of people who have reached that wealth in this country, in this world, without them probably doing despicable things, vicious, horrific things that a lot of us will never know about, because that's why they're on top fiscally. It's because they were able to hide a lot of that viciousness. And that's exactly her portrayal, right? The judge himself thinks of her as like a upstanding woman who's helping out the community. But she's a horrific person, turned a billionaire, and spread that cancerous system to every corner of that market. And to get to that level, you need to do horrific stuff. And it reminds me actually of that Tupac line in his song Changes of, I always got to worry about the payback, some punk that I roughed up way back, right? It's at all these years. That's it. Like, if you've done shitty things in the name of trying to better yourself, okay, maybe that worked for you. But those shitty things still happen. They exist. It can go back to Naruto, the whole fucking cycle of hatred. Like, you can think that you won, but if you won, that means someone lost. And you have to then assume all the losers will stay in their place and accept loss as their final battle. But not every single person's going to act that way either. And that guy showed it of like, I'm not going to, like, even if I can't do anything about my mother anymore, but I can make sure this lady's dead. So yeah, he is kind of that like reaper figure of the lives you destroyed in your wake. One of them is going to have their own revenge story and try to take you out. So it's great. She's a great Icarus tale. She definitely represents what everyone feels like they have to transform themselves into in order to survive in this kind of world we created. So she's also, you can probably argue she's some kind of victim of the capitalist community that we've set up everyone to follow, and she's just taking the rule book and following it exactly the way we have it set up. But it's great. What should have happened to most characters, right? The guy who murdered her is going to go to prison forever. She's dead because she destroyed a bunch of lives. Fran just lost her woman, and Fran was complicit in a bunch of evil shit. Really, it's only Roman who probably was just like, oh, I guess I'm still here, as far as we know.
So he ultimately won, right?
He's still alive. Dying is usually an L. I think Hannibal said that. If you died, it's probably an L.
Exactly.
But great tale. It's one of it's a quintessential classic crime thriller movie now. It just is. It's on that list of top crime thrillers. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I also really love the last little bit of commentary and what you were talking about just now. When she's doing the interview with Forbes or some financial show, I can't remember what it is, but she starts selling the great American lie, right? She's like, well, I'll be honest with you, there's no tricks, there's no shortcuts. It just takes hard work and dedication. And that's the lie we get fed all the time, right? Yeah, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying hard work and dedication don't take you far. But to get to that level, you have to be a piece of shit. Like there's no way you're going to become a giant whale in the financial world, a slice of the top 1% without doing some evil shit. Like that's just the way the system is. We
Yep.
cannot sustain that kind of growth without doing some shady shit. So that to me was also the ultimate cherry on top, final pun intended, because it just spoke about that lie that we're always fed by people, right? It's like, yeah, you just have to keep persevering, and even though it sucks, you got to keep going. And it's just like, no, that's just what you tell us to make us feel better, right? And to keep us in line. But in reality, to get what you want at that level, you have to be a shark, nothing less of a shark. So I really enjoyed it. The last thing I wanted to kind of ask you, man. Obviously, motivations are different based on personal experiences, but once you saw these two, who did you want to win? Right? Because they're
Mm.
both fascinating characters in their own
Sure.
right, and they're both detestable characters in their own right. Who were you rooting for the most here?
Yeah, I think the simple answer for me was our protagonist from that perspective, because she seemed like the underdog, so it's easy to kind of gravitate towards. You're up against a Russian mob. It's kind of assumed you're going to die. How are you going to not die and get what you want? And it was impressive. Her final play was just impressive of what it led to. Of I now own you with the healthcare system. I'm not beating you with a gun like you could with me. I'm beating you with what I know, which is kidnapping people for the rest of their lives. So ultimately rooting for her. But at that point, when it started getting into Act 3, it was like watching like a great football game, a great boxing match of you just respect each blow, each technique. You forgot favorites at that point. You're just respecting their craft, their delivery of lines, what their actions, their thought process. So at the end, it was just like I just want to see how they get to the end at that point. But she had me in the first half for sure.
She had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. That's fair, man. To me, I thought both characters were really fascinating. It's just little details that made me. I was going for Roman, and I'll tell you why. I just loved the little sensitive side he had in the beginning and the end. Like he bought eclairs for his mother. He's a stone cold killer, and he takes the time to pick out just like the perfect dessert for his mother, which I found funny. The other thing that made me like him just a little bit more than Fran was I could tolerate all of Fran's actions because
Or
that's
Marlis.
her business. Marla, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Marla's actions. Well, I guess Marla and Fran.
Yeah, Fran is that too.
But the one thing that just made me root for Roman a little bit more was the fact that she decided to steal diamonds that weren't hers. Right? Like to me at that point everything was fair game, but she went into this woman's safety deposit box and just did that extra step of like, okay, these diamonds aren't registered legally anywhere. She could just put them back, right? Because she's already got a shit ton of money from the woman as a cherry. But no, she has to go and she has to steal the diamonds too. So for me, that, again, personally, that played a role in me just wanting her to lose the matchup. But again, maybe for someone else that wasn't a big deal and it technically would be fair game for them. That's fair too. But for me, I thought Roman was just a little bit more interesting. I really loved Peter Dinklage's performance. So I was happy to see that he got his mother at the end. He had that like heartfelt moment where she was holding him in that love chokehold this time. And she was just like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And technically, like I said, he did win at the end. But yeah, that whole diamond part made me like her just a little bit less. And I guess my last little observation was we need some more Fran. Like Fran was another kind of secondary character, a little bit more important than Roman's mother. But they had some interesting bits in there. Like when they were talking to the police officer in the precinct, she was talking to her like she was very familiar with her, and she was calling her Frankie or something like that instead of Fran. And the audience included was like, oh, why is she calling you Frankie? Marla started asking. She's like, no one calls me that anymore. And then she just left. But it would make sense, right? If she worked in some kind of either correctional facility or she was involved with law enforcement, it makes sense now how she was able to discover all of that information about Roman's character and the false identity he set up for his mother, etc.
Yeah.
So I was actually hoping they would elaborate more on that because she was an interesting character, but they didn't. And I understand it's it's already a 2-hour film. They had to probably cut some stuff out, but she was super interesting. I actually liked her a little bit more than Marla. I thought she was the balancing factor between her and Marla. She was more of the okay, let's play it safe if we need to kind of person. But
yeah, she would have preferred it to play safe. That's what she was leaning throughout the entire movie. But yeah, her partner's gravitas convinced her.
Exactly.
And, worked out for a while. It's interesting trying to pick like which character you're kind of going for. 'Cause everyone's a piece of shit. And Roman, obviously, he's in human trafficking, so it's like, all right, well, you're definitely a piece of shit. You're probably the worst. But then it's like, oh, well, Marla's technically trafficking humans too, just in a different way.
Exactly.
Awful people.
Trafficking people. And again, like they have little bits in there when the doctor's like, "Oh, I can't share her medical records because that would be unethical." And they're like, "Right, yeah, absolutely, yeah." Like I totally agree. I wouldn't want to put you in a position to be unethical, which was just funny to me. Like little lines like that. And then when they almost die, the next day they're still casually eating fruit and like healthy shit for breakfast. I'm just like, wow, even in the face of death,
respect the routine.
So vain. Yeah, like they that's them, like through and through. Like even if they're gonna like almost die the day before, they're still gonna just do their own thing.
Gonna have a balanced meal, Gonna have a balanced meal.
Exactly.
Threat of death is no excuse not to eat your fruits and vegetables.
Exactly. Stay disciplined, people. But yeah, all in all, I really like this movie. I would give it, man, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Great films to watch back to back, Judas and the Black Messiah and I Care a Lot. What about you, man? What would your rating be?
Yeah, it'd probably be, I give it 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. Just solid movie, solid thriller comedy. There's a lot of funny bits in there. Obviously, the characters are all vicious and despicable, but charming enough where you want to see where they go in their own little journey. And, I haven't seen a thriller this good in a long time. A lot of them can just be superficial, gun versus gun kind of thing. But this is just, I have my skill sets, you have your resources, who's going to come out on top? And it goes into the most interesting of directions of team up at the end, followed by, small revenge plot, getting her. Excellent movie. It's right now my number 2 movie of the year. Wow. 2.5 months into the year, it's already number 2. So I can't wait to see what Rosamund Pike does next. Can't wait to see what Peter Dinklage does next. I want Diane Weiss to be in more shit too. I want Isa Gonzalez to be in more shit. Great cast of characters. We highly recommend this movie. I Care a Lot. It's on Netflix. Go check it out if you haven't. And that'll do it. Another great movie reviewed. And you can find more reviews like this on malumpictures.com. After the Act podcast is on Twitch live right now. It'll be on YouTube right after this. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, wherever you want to find a podcast. We're there. If not, let us know. We'll get on there. You can find other podcasts like The Magic Conch and all the same places. You can find us gaming on YouTube and Twitch. MalumPictures.com has everything. We do a lot of things for your benefit because we care a lot.
We do care a lot. Also, man, did you realize Rosalind Pike was like a legal gangster, and then Roman's character, or Peter Dinklage's character, he was like just a straight up traditional gangster. It's kind of cool.
Sure,
kind of cool to see that.
The light and the darkness, both vicious.
No,
just
both darkness. Both darkness.
One acts in the light, one acts in the darkness. Both incredibly awful, but awfully entertaining. So kudos to them. And yeah, we'll check you out next week. Right here.
WandaVision.
Ooh, I like it. Calling it now. WandaVision review. Let's do it.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Peace.